Welcome to the Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes Narrow Gauge Railroad YouTube channel. We are releasing a series of videos on the history, locations, and preservation of the historic equipment that has been the ongoing mission for over 50 years now. If this interests you, the Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes Railroad is always looking for new volunteers to help keep this historic and famous railroad and its equipment running, such as train crews, selling tickets, and painting. We welcome people with metalworking, carpentry, engineering, mechanical skills, or just a pair of hands to help others. If you are from away, you can still join as a member and watch and be kept up to date online or donate to a good cause. For those who want to visit the Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes Railroad in Phillips, Maine, and enjoy a ride over a section of the former Phillips and Rangeley Railroad, visit their webpage at www.srrl-rr.org for operating times and dates. The website also has an online store from which you can view and order items, from narrow gauge books to clothing. As for future endeavors, they will not be on any particular schedule, so you need to hit the subscribe button to be notified of future updates when a new video is uploaded. This video was taken on November 27th, 2022, on a further follow-up visit to the Mount Abram Junction. Here through the trees is the river, which was close in on the right-of-way as you travel towards Salem. A mid-December 1901 report shows just how close the tracks were through this area. At what is called the Junction, near North Freeman, on the Franklin-Megantic Railroad, 200 feet of track lies at the bottom of the river. Near Salem, the track for 90 feet is insecure. As we pan around, this area in the pine trees is very important. About 6 to 7 years ago, Kenny and I came here and found 2 side tracks shaped like a Y. What led us here was what looks like a mill pond off of Route 142. Besides spikes, we found nails and metalwork, which indicated either buildings or a platform or both. A side view of this area. No side tracks here were noted in a 1915 survey. Side maps pre-1915 are few and far between, and none for this location have been found. This area is one of the only few level areas from the Salem-Freeman town line north towards Kingfield. Where we will see cars parked, we believe this was the county road, which puts any operation off both the road and the railroad. Standing on the county road, looking towards Salem, in the area where the 2 tracks were. On February 9th, 1885, the F&M board met in Kingfield. Number 3, on motion of the same, that matter of rates for transportation of Oliver's freight and putting in a siding at Oliver's be left with J. Winter. On June 29, 1886, the board met at Strong, voted that the treasurer be authorized to execute and issue the notes of this company to raise money for the purpose of constructing the mountain branch off the road of said company from the main track at or near Oliver's Pond by the most feasible route to Gilbert Brothers Steam Mill. Was Oliver's Pond water backed up at their mill on the river, or was this location an early Oliver Mill location that then moved 1,600 feet or so when the branch was later built? Digging into the pre-1886 Oliver and later Fellows Mills records is ongoing. Due to this being a township location, the state does not keep tax records that far back. Further digging, we have dug up some deeds at the courthouse and are trying to figure out locations and time frames. Further visits are required. We can now, through documents, track an Oliver presence in this area from 1842 until the 700 acres was sold to V.B. Meade in 1888. 3 years later, reported in October 1899 on Weston Lewis's son Carl, who oversaw their lumber concerns. Mr. Carl Lewis of Gardner has purchased a farm of some 700 acres in North Freeman, and on the farm is the Oliver Sawmill in a dilapidated condition. Below in the same issue as the above, a gang of men are at work repairing the old trestle near the old mill in Freeman, which is being repaired and put in shape for business this winter. In April 1901, it was reported Carl Lewis was shipping 10 cars per week. Fast forward to August 1904. Oliver Trestle is being filled in. The fill-in being taken from the roadbed a short distance up the track. This will reduce the grade at this place about 9 feet, says Superintendent Vos. The fill was 1,160 feet long and 27 feet at its deepest point with a 5 by 6 foot box culvert. The culvert was finished the last week of August. With this location's background information out of the way, up through the trees here, we will start with the 1913 Hughes siding. 200 feet away is Kenny. We measured this with a 300-foot tape measure. The right-of-way here is 17 feet wide. On the left was where the Hughes siding was located. Why was the Hughes, Spool, and Bobbin of Kingfield felt the need for a 1913 sidetrack at Mount Abram's Junction is unknown. Further, why did the Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes even build it? Should you see paperwork dated 1912 about a 250-foot Hughes siding, that was for the Hughes Bowl and Spool mill that moved down from Carabasset to Kingfield. What we are seeing here is the Hughes Spool and Bobbin, owned by Herbert Wing. Where Kenny is, you can see our cars. We drove in on what we believe is the old county road. As I pan around, looking towards where the video started, the birch tree here, the right-of-way is down to 14 feet wide. Where the video started, it was 9 to 10 feet wide. Here we can see the fill drops off on the Hughes side of the right-of-way. This is on the river side. Any wood loaded at this location was not loaded from the riverside due to this incline. Also note the smaller right-of-way incline on the right. Loaded sleds would have to come up the incline onto the main line to load cars destined for Kingfield. Here we are standing in the middle of the F&M main line, looking down the Mount Abrams branch. On the left was the track. On the right was the county road. This view was taken a few feet down the branch. On the right, the county road turns off and follows the main line. The branch goes off straight until the river. As we pan the camera towards Salem, we can see the edge of the fill and how it curves and follows the right-of-way. Down in the distance is the white birch referenced earlier. In a Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes letter from Alan Sochi, dated August 21st, 1913, quote, "The Hughes, Spool, and Bobbin Company, H. Wing Manager, requests a spur track near Mount Abram Junction. Capacity 6 cars to load from 100 to 200 cords of birch." We know from this Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes map that the Hughes siding was 240 feet for 3 cars, not 6 cars, just off the Mount Abram branch. The difference in car space may be due to the switch location and the curve it had before it paralleled the main line. From Allen after he crunched the numbers of what was in various company letters. Now to figure out how many cars this would be, I checked out the weight of cars of poplar pulp being loaded at Sewell's Mill. The weigh bills were for 2 cars each and ran around 48 to 54,000 pounds for 2 cars. So I used a number of 25,000 pounds per car. White birch weight on the low side is about 2.3 tons per cord. That equals 4,600 pounds. So dividing 4,600 into 25,000 pounds gives you the figure of 5.4 cords per car. 100 cords of birch would have been about 18 cars. 200 cords would have been about 36 cars. Not a lot of business to put in a siding. As we turn towards Kingfield, the cut is a maximum 11 feet high with a 2.66% grade with tangent track from the junction to the second county road crossing. Any train coming off the Mount Abram branch would have a good view both ways of any approaching train. An example of line of sight. Looking down the right-of-way towards the junction, here on the right, in this ice-covered hole was the location of this. The camera lens used to take this photo made things look closer than they were. The Lewiston Evening Journal reported on November 22, 1900 about this incident. The morning train from Kingfield proceeded only as far as Mount Abram Junction, when the baggage car was blown off the track and pitched over a small embankment. The rails were badly wrenched and twisted, so that it was impossible to get the passenger past the scene of the wreck. Consequently, the males and passenger were taken aboard the engine and hauled to Strong. Here we can see how the fill, most likely a trestle, was filled in before November 1900. Below is a county road. Off in the distance, the white line across the top of the road is the Mount Abram branch. Here is the first of two steep drop-offs towards the river. The same area but with no snow. Should you come out to search for the old locations, here is a perfect example of how a light coat of snow allows changes to stand out and be seen. As we pan around, note this white area down through the trees. This may at a later date come back into play as we are still working out different mill locations in this area, where the county road crossed the main line at an angle and continued on. We are now 80 feet beyond the last video location as we follow the county road to where it crossed the tracks. This location, 80 feet further down the tracks, is where this photo was taken after the car was removed from the ditch. Here on the left we can see as the county road rose up to the tracks. As we will see, this location had a section house. At first I thought it was this. It is not. It is an anomaly in the photo. This dark area rectangle, I believe, is the section house. Note the wheel sets were not under the car still at this point 80 feet later. The stove from the car is outside and being used to gather around like a campfire to get warm. Due to the lack of snow here, it must have been the following day or days to get the car to this point. This map Alan Sochi drew out from Company Engineering Records. It shows us the section house along with the distances between locations. Kenny standing in a flat area where the road came up and crossed. Behind me would have been the section house. Looking up at the fill, and just to the left was where the car was blown over. As we pan north, this gives you a bird's eye view from the county road. In the distance was where the section house was. The earlier area I noted as what we think was a road at ground level. Looking back at the Mount Abram Junction in the distance and the fill on the left. Here we were looking at the main reasons for our visit. Stevens Siding. Off in the distance on the right-hand side at the start of the curve was a south-facing switch for the 435-foot-long Stevens Siding. So, was the name Stevens for a mill? An 1883 news article when the F&M was being proposed on a survey that started on July 20th. A preliminary reconnaissance of a route for this railroad between Strong Station and Kingfield by Colonel Wilds was finished Tuesday last. The route inspected runs in nearly a direct line from the Strong Station about 2¼ miles to a point easterly of Crosby's Mill in Freeman, thence around the base of Stevens Hill, 1¾ miles to a point on the Salem level near the cemetery, thence to nearly direct line easterly about 6⅔ mile to Kingfield Village. This last section runs southerly of the carriage road the whole distance from Salem to Kingfield Village, and has but one highway crossing, that across the Foster Hill Road. After a run-in email battle with Allen over the Stevens Sidon/mill, I finally came to the conclusion that the next quote was not the Sidon in front of the Sewell's Mill from the earlier Mount Abrams videos, or in the book The Next Stop is Kingfield, but here. In August 1890, a new siding, 400 feet long, has been put in at Mount Abram for the loading lumber coming in the Franklin Mills in North Freeman. On the right-of-way's left side, when traveling north, no way was a mill located on the river due to the steep drop-off and the large gravel hill that makes up the siding's north end. Should you visit here, what you see here is a logging road only. We followed it to the river. At that point, it's under the flat spot where the section house was located. We walked a good-sized section here across from the siding looking for the mill remains. We found no evidence, yet we will be back at some point. Kenny saw 3 rocks in the snow. He wants to check them out again without snow and run a detector over the area before we cross it off the list. We spoke to people who live off the right-of-way. They have seen no mill remains in this area. In front of us, that dark area was the end of the Stevens siding. Here to the left, what I believe was the F&M gravel bank. You can see where it has eaten into the hill and was used for this last logging operation. Yet, we are only a few feet short of 2 miles south of the big F&M gravel pit in Salem. From the same article in August 1890 that reported the new siding, 3 of the trestles on the road, aggregating about 300 feet, had been filled and substantial stone culverts built. September 25, 1890, the F&M had its first employee death. As Mr. Moses Lander of Kingfield was riding on the work train last Thursday evening, September 25th, he slipped between the cars and was injured so badly that he died the next morning. Was this accident connected to the gravel bank here or the trestles? We do not know. Where did the name Stevens come from for a siding built for Franklin Mills? We do not know. Was the name Stevens a name given later? We do not know. What we do know was blown over in a car was a section man named Win Stevens. A further Stevens was reported working on May 24, 1901 as an F&M brakeman. No location given. On September 10, 1902, it is reported that Winfield Stevens left the F&M. In the area was a road called Stevens Road. Was there any connections with the above? We do not know. We hope you enjoyed this video. Is this going to be the last video on this particular area? No, we are still running down information. We have at least 2 deeds that we have to pull. There's a photo that we know about that we have to get in contact to get a copy of. In the spring, we have to go check an area out on the Freeman-Salem town line. There is a lot more to do, and when we have that further information available, we'll be putting it out on a video that follows up on this and along with the Fellows/Kimball Mill that was there. We hope you enjoyed this. Thank you. Bye. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Please take a look at our YouTube channel. Hit the like button and subscribe to be notified when new content is available. We hope to see you the next time.